I didn't come here looking for answers. The highway stretched out empty, just cracked asphalt and fading lines under a flat gray sky. My hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles white against the worn leather. 200 miles to face what I'd run from. Her. Lena. The woman whose touch still haunted my skin after all these years. We broke up under family pressure, their words like stones in my chest, forcing me to choose silence over us. Rejection loomed now, sharp as the wind slicing through the vents. But the pull was stronger. I had to know if the fire still burned. That pull started years ago. Let me take you back. City life ground against me like grit under boot heels. My apartment overlooked concrete towers, the kind that swallowed light by noon. Mornings began with the hiss of the coffee maker, but the steam carried no warmth, just the echo of empty rooms. I'd built walls here, high and unyielding after leaving the ranch country behind. Work filled the days, spreadsheets, meetings, the hum of fluorescent lights that never quite chased the chill. Nights were worse. Lying in bed, the sheets twisted around me, I'd trace the ceiling cracks like old fault lines. Isolation settled in my bones, heavy as silt after a flood. Friends came and went, their laughter polite but distant. No one asked about the past. I didn't offer it. It hadn't always been this way. I remembered the air differently back then, thick with summer heat and the scent of turned earth. We'd met at the county fair, that rural sprawl of booths and dust-choked paths. I was home from college, helping with the family stall, stacking jars of preserves under the relentless sun. She appeared like a shift in the wind, leaning against a post with a lemonade in hand. Lena, tall, with sun-bleached hair tied back and eyes the color of river stones. She wore faded jeans and a flannel shirt rolled to her elbows, calluses visible on her palms from ranch work. Our first glance hooked me. She smiled, slow and easy, asking about the honey flavors. I fumbled the labels, my voice catching on simple words. We talked through the afternoon about the fair's chaos, the way the Ferris wheel groaned against the sky. Her laugh cut through the crowd noise, warm and unforced. By evening, as the light strung up, she brushed my arm, reaching for a sample. That touch lingered, electric against my skin. Tentative at first, like testing thin ice. Later, under the strings of bulbs, our fingers grazed again. No words, just the press of skin, promising more. The attraction built like a slow storm. Days turned to weeks. We'd steal moments at the edges of town, driving back roads in her old truck, windows down to let the fields rush by. Her hand would find mine over the gearshift, thumb tracing circles that sent heat pooling low. One night, after a barn dance, we ended up in the shadows of the hayloft. The air smelled of straw and sweat, the distant low of cattle mixing with our breaths. We whispered promises there, lips brushing ears. "This is us," she murmured, her fingers threading through my hair. No one else. The intensity wrapped around us, fierce and unspoken. Kisses that tasted of sweet tea and urgency, bodies pressing close until the world narrowed to just her heartbeat against mine. But pressures crept in, insidious as morning fog. Her family expected her to settle with someone from the church circle, stable, traditional. Mine pushed the same, their voices laced with worry about whispers in a small town. Distance grew too. I had school pulling me away, classes and city dreams that felt worlds apart from the ranch rhythms. Arguments simmered over late-night calls, her voice cracking with frustration. "They don't see us," she'd say, "but I do." I wanted to fight harder, but doubt gnawed. What if we were just kids chasing shadows? The breakup came under a stormy sky. Rain hammered the tin roof of her family's porch, thunder rumbling like unspoken regrets. We stood there, soaked through, her flannel clinging to her shoulders. "We can't keep doing this," I said, the words tasting like ash. Family eyes watched from the windows, expectations heavy as the downpour. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Hurt flashed in her eyes, raw and unguarded. "Is this it?" she asked, voice breaking. I nodded, throat tight. No dramatic pleas, just silence, swallowing us whole. I drove away that night, wipers slashing at the blur, her silhouette fading in the rear view. Years passed, letters unanswered. The quiet became a wall, brick by unyielding brick, until the letter arrived. Plain envelope in my mailbox, her handwriting shaky on the front. No promises, just a simple note. I'm still here, if you are. My hands trembled, opening it. The paper crinkling like dry leaves. The city felt smaller then, suffocating. I packed a bag that night, the decisions settling like dust after wind. 200 miles. Not just road, but the weight of what we'd lost. I had to go back, had to break the silence. The engine hummed, steady under me, miles ticking by like heartbeats I couldn't ignore. Flat fields blurred past the windows, golden under the midday sun, but they pulled me back. We'd taken the same stretch years ago, her truck kicking up gravel as we chased horizons. The dashboard clock glowed 2:17, same as that afternoon when we'd loaded coolers and headed west. No plan but each other. Dust devils spun in the distance now, faint echoes of the ones we'd laughed at then, her voice cutting through the radio static. Look at that one, tall as a silo. My grip tightened again. Why did every curve feel like a memory uncoiling? Those road trips were our escape. We'd drive for hours, windows cracked to let the wind whip through, carrying scents of sage and sun-warmed earth. Her hand would slide over the console, fingers lacing with mine, warm and sure. We'd talk dreams then, big ones, whispered like secrets. A small place of our own, maybe near the river, with room for horses and quiet mornings. No more hiding, she'd say, thumb-stroking my knuckles. Just us, building something real. I'd nod, heart swelling, imagining mornings tangled in sheets, her breath on my neck. The road felt alive with possibility, asphalt stretching toward a future we could touch. Laughter filled the cab, easy and full, her profile sharp against the passing pines. In those moments, the world shrank to the space between us, hands intertwined like roots holding soil. But cracks showed early. The first argument hit on a stretch like this, near mile marker 147, where the hills rolled endless. We'd been talking futures, my city job offer, her ranch inheritance. You can't just leave, she said, voice tight, eyes on the road. This is home. I pulled my hand back, the console suddenly cold. It's a chance, Lena, for both of us. Words sharpened, her jaw setting like flint. Paths diverging, she called it. Me chasing lights and crowds, her tied to the land that shaped her. Silence fell heavy after, broken only by the tires humming resentment. We'd make up by sunset, her apology soft in a roadside diner, but the doubt lingered, a shadow in the rear view. Doubt clawed at me now. My heart thudded against the dashboard's edge as I braked for a curve, pulse echoing the old fights. What if she'd changed? What if the miles had carved us too deep? The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the median, and I saw us again, pulling over in a fit of joy, kissing fierce against the truck's warm hood, her hands on my waist, pulling me close, the metal hot under our palms. But then, the arguments replayed, louder. You're choosing them over me, she'd accused once, voice breaking as rain sheeted the windshield. Family pulls, expectations like chains. I defended, but inside, fear twisted. Was I running toward her or just chasing ghosts? I needed air. The sign for a rest stop flickered up, weathered and lone. I veered off, tires crunching gravel as I parked under a scraggly oak. The engine ticked cool. Silence, rushing in. Stepping out, the wind tugged at my jacket, carrying faint diesel and wild grass. I leaned against the car, staring into the rearview mirror. My reflection stared back, lines around my eyes, hair shorter than she'd known. Regrets surfaced like silt stirred from the riverbed. The nights I'd lain awake, replaying our last drive, her tears silent as we turned back home. Don't go, she'd whispered at the fork. But I had. The mirror fogged with my breath. What if rejection waited? What if the silence had won? A semi roared past, jolting me. I couldn't stay parked here, unraveling. Wiping the mirror clear, I slid back in, key turning with a click. The road called onward, fields giving way to familiar rises. Nearing the hometown now, the air thickened in the cab, anticipation heavy as humidity before a storm. Billboards for local feeds loomed. Then the first ranch gates. My chest tightened. Lena was close. The pull. Sharpened, undeniable. The town limits sign creaked into view, weathered paint peeling like old skin. Welcome to Elm Ridge. Population 1 through 47. My tires hit the main drag, slow and deliberate, the engine's rumble fading against the quiet streets. Dust swirled up from the shoulders, fine particles settling on the windshield in a hazy film. I wiped it with my sleeve, but the grit clung, blurring the edges of familiar storefronts. The feed store stood unchanged, its awning sagging just a bit more. Heart pounding, I scanned the faces. Old-timers on benches, kids kicking stones. No sign of her yet. But the air hummed with it, that electric undercurrent. I was here. I parked near the square, engine ticking down to silence. The library squatted at the corner, brick facade baked red by years of sun. Its sign swung lazy in the breeze. Open Tuesdays. Today was Thursday. I stepped out, boots crunching gravel that bit into my soles like tiny accusations. The path to the entrance stretched short, but my legs felt leaden. Why the library? The letter hadn't said, just that she'd be around town. Maybe habit. She'd always buried herself in books when things got heavy, pages a shield against the world. There she was, through the window, framed like a painting I couldn't unsee. Lena stacking returns at the counter, her back to the glass, unchanged in ways that twisted my gut. Same broad shoulders under a simple cotton shirt, hair pulled into a loose braid that grazed her neck. But distant too. A stiffness in her movements, like she'd armored up against the years. My knees weakened right there on the path, gravel shifting under me. I gripped the doorframe, breath shallow. Proximity hit like a wave, crashing over the distance we'd built. She turned then, slow, as if sensing the shift in the air. Our eyes met, through the pain. Time fractured. I pushed inside, bell tinkling soft overhead. The smell wrapped around me, aged paper and polished wood, faint trace of coffee from the corner pot. She froze, a book halfway to the shelf. You came, she said, voice low, like gravel under tires. No warmth, just fact. I nodded. Words stuck. The space between us felt vast, shelves looming like barriers. Unspoken words hung heavy, regrets, questions, the ache of what we'd left. Her eyes averted first, flicking to the floor, then back. Blue-gray, still pulling me in despite the walls. We stood there, inches apart now. The counter, no shield. How's the drive? She asked, casual, but her fingers tightened on the book spine. White-knuckled. Long, I managed. But clear. Silence stretched. Loaded. I wanted to say more. The miles replaying our fights. The letter that cracked my resolve. Instead, eyes locked again, saying what mouths wouldn't. Hurt flickered in hers. Guarded, but real. Empathy tugged at me, that old pull. She'd waited, too, in her way. A flash hit me then, unbidden. Her calloused hand in mine, rough from reins and fences, sliding up my arm in the dim of her. Truck cab. We'd parked by the river once, stars thick overhead, her palm pressing warm against my cheek. Stay, she'd whispered, thumb tracing my jaw. Intimacy raw, bodies fitting like they'd always known. The memory jolted now, heat rising despite the cool aisle. Her hand, still visible, stacking another volume, looked the same. I swallowed, stepping back. I didn't expect this soon. She set the book down, deliberate. Town small, runs into you. A half smile, fleeting, but it sparked something. Not fire, not yet. Embers. The doorbell jingled again. Patron entering, and she turned away, professional mask slipping on. Family gathering tonight, she said over her shoulder. At the center, Ma insisted. Unavoidable. The word hung between us, forcing the next step. I nodded. Pulse racing. No escape now. We'd have to face it. Together, in the crowd. The community center loomed at the edge of town, its low brick building strung with paper lanterns that swayed in the evening breeze. I parked in the gravel lot, dust kicking up under the tires, and stepped out into the cooling air. Inside, the smells hit first. Hay from the stacked bales in the corner, mingling with the sharp tang of home-cooked food. Pies cooling on windowsills, beans simmering in pots, cornbread fresh from the oven. Laughter spilled from the main hall, voices overlapping like old radio static. Family. The kind that pulled you in tight, whether you wanted it or not. I smoothed my shirt, the fabric sticking slightly to my skin from the day's heat. Relatives swarmed the entry, aunts with aprons tied loose, uncles clapping shoulders too hard. "Look who's back," Aunt Clara said, pulling me into a hug that smelled of flour and faint perfume. Her arms squeezed, genuine but probing. I nodded through the small talk, answering questions about the city, jobs, weather, anything safe. "It's fine," I said, voice even. "Busy." But my eyes scanned the room, seeking her. Lena stood across the hall, near the punch bowl, talking to her cousin. Her flannel shirt hung open over a tank top, sleeves rolled up. She glanced my way, quick, then away. The distance felt like miles, even here. The evening dragged. I navigated the crowd, plate in hand, fork pushing potatoes around. Uncle Ray cornered me by the dessert table. "Heard you got some fancy office now. City's not too loud for you." I forced a smile, murmuring about traffic and tall buildings. His questions poked, casual but insistent, like he was testing the old wounds. All the while, my gaze drifted to her. Lena moved through the relatives, plate balanced, her laugh low when someone joked. But tension lined her shoulders, the way she held her cup too tight. Our eyes met again, held longer this time. Something unspoken, past. Recognition. Maybe regret. I looked away first, heat rising in my chest. Finally, the crowd thinned near the back corner, where folding chairs, stacked against the wall. I slipped there, needing a breath from the chatter. She followed, steps quiet on the scuffed floor. "Couldn't stay away," she said, leaning against the wall beside me. Her voice was soft, edged with that old gravel. I shook my head. "Family pulls." Silence fell between us, thick as the hay dust in the air. Then it cracked. "It's been hard," she admitted, eyes on the floor. "The quiet after you left, like the ranch went still." Her words hit low, stirring the pains we'd buried. I nodded, throat tight. "City's no better. Echoes everywhere." We shared it then. The separation's weight, nights alone, questions unanswered, the way silence carved hollows in us both. Her face softened, lines deepening around her eyes. Years etched there, same as mine. Tension built slow, like heat off the stove. We shifted closer, elbows nearly touching. Then it happened. An accidental brush of arms as I turned to grab a napkin from the table. Her skin against mine, warm and rough from work, electric. Old fire sparked low in my gut, memories flooding back. The barn loft, her hand sliding up my arm, pulling me near. I froze. She didn't pull away. Our breaths synced, shallow in the dim corner. "Still feels the same," she whispered, voice barely there. I met her eyes, close now. Blue-gray, pulling me under. The room faded. The clink of forks, the hum of talk. Just us, arms lingering a beat too long. She broke it first, stepping back, but the revelations came anyway. "I stayed," she said, folding her arms. "Ranch kept me grounded. Dated a bit, nothing stuck. The silence, it tolls, you know. Wakes you at night, wondering." Her words hung, raw. I swallowed. "Same. Work fills days, but nights. Your letter broke something in me. The miles weren't just road. They were us, lost." We stood there, the toll laid bare. Isolation's grit in my city walks, her solitary rides through empty fields. The separation had worn us thin, threads fraying but not snapped. Empathy swelled, clashing with the hurt. She'd carried it too. Guarded heart matching mine. Then the jolt. Cousin Marie wandered over, plate in hand, eyes sharp. "You two catching up?" Been years since you ran in the same circles. She paused, glancing between us. What happened back then anyway? Family said it was just young stuff, but look deeper. You both went quiet like ghosts. Her question landed heavy, probing the scar. Lena stiffened, color rising in her cheeks. I felt it echo. Family pressure, the storm of that last night, expectations crushing what we'd built. Old news, I said, voice steady but inside, turmoil churned. Marie shrugged, but the damage lingered, stirring the air thick. Lena's hand grazed my elbow again, deliberate this time. Walk? She asked, low. The crowd pressed in, but outside called, cool night, away from eyes. I nodded. We slipped out the side door, gravel crunching underfoot, the riverbank waiting in the dark. The side door clicked shut behind us, sealing the chatter inside like a distant hum. Gravel gave way to dirt. Path, our boots scuffing soft as we headed toward the riverbank. The night air cooled quick, carrying the damp scent of water and mud. Moonlight filtered through cottonwoods, silvering the ground ahead. We walked in step, shoulders not quite touching, the silence between us full, but not empty. Silt crunched underfoot, fine and shifting, mirroring the way my thoughts unsettled with each step. It stuck to my soles, gritty reminder of ground that wouldn't hold steady. I glanced at her profile, sharp against the dark. That question from Marie, it stirred things. My voice came out low, testing. Lena nodded, hands shoved in her pockets. Always does. Family pokes, expecting answers we don't have. We reached the bank, the river murmuring low, current pulling at exposed roots. I stopped, toes at the edge, silt edging into my boots. Regrets poured then, unbidden. I replay that last night too much. The porch, rain coming down hard. I said we couldn't, but it killed me. Your eyes hurt like I'd struck you. My voice broke on the memory, throat tightening. The storm's roar echoed in my head, her flannel soaked, clinging. We'd stood there, inches apart, but worlds away. I chose quiet over us. Drove away thinking it was right. Stupid. She shifted, arms crossing tight over her chest. Guarded, like always, when walls rose. Yeah, it did hurt. Her response clipped, empathy flickering but clashing with the old ache. I saw it in her jaw, the tension holding back a flood. You left, and the ranch felt bigger, emptier. But I get it. Pressure from all sides. Mine whispered about duty. Yours about fitting in. She paused, kicking a pebble into the water, ripples spreading slow. Doesn't make it easier. Nights I'd ride out, wind cold, wondering if you'd call. Never did. Hurt lingered in her tone, raw edges not smoothed by time. Yet her eyes met mine, soft under the hurt, empathy pulling us closer, even as pain pushed. We walked again, path narrowing, forcing hesitant steps nearer. Her arm brushed mine, accidental at first, then lingering. The physical pull hummed, undeniable, breath synced without trying, mine quick, hers steadying to match. The air between us thickened, charged like before a thunderclap. I never moved on, I confessed, words tumbling now. City dates, sure, but they faded fast. Your letter? It cracked the miles open. 200 of them, not just road. Emotional barrier I built, brick by regret. Kept me safe, but alone. Vulnerability spilled, heart thudding visible under my shirt. The river's flow mocked my stillness, urging movement. Lena stopped, turning to face me full. Her breath caught, sinking deeper. Me neither. Guarded tone softened, empathy winning the clash. Tried ranch life full, work from dawn, no room for ghosts. But you'd show up in quiet moments, feeding horses at dusk, your laugh in my head. The silence tolls, like you said. I wrote that letter on a whim after a bad day. Thought maybe? She trailed off, eyes searching mine. Hurt flashed again, but warmer now, layered with hope. Our steps closed the gap, boots sinking into silt together. The pull tightened, her warmth cutting the chill. Then the turning point. Her hand rose, hesitant, landing on my shoulder. Firm, calloused palm pressing through fabric, igniting. Vulnerability surged, mine cracking open, hers mirroring in the tremble of her fingers. Heat spread from the touch, pooling low, memories flooding. That same hand in the hayloft, guiding, claiming. This, she whispered, thumb tracing my collarbone. Still here. I leaned in, breath mingling. The river rushed on, but time slowed. Regrets hung lighter now, voiced and shared. Her eyes held mine, blue-gray depths, unguarded for the first time. What now? I asked, voice barely above the water. She didn't answer right away. Hand stayed, anchoring. The night deepened around us, stars pricking the sky sharper, crickets rising in chorus. Decisions loomed, heavy as the current. Face the past full, or let silence reclaim. Her touch said enough for now. We stood there, breaths in rhythm, the silt settling under us. We lingered by the river until the chill seeped through our clothes. Her hand slipped from my shoulder, but the warmth stayed. Come back to the house, Lena said, voice steady now. Too cold out here. I nodded, the decision simple in the dark. We walked back, path lit by moonlight, boots leaving prints in the soft earth. Her place sat at the ranch's edge, a low cabin with porch light flickering like a beacon. The door creaked open, releasing scents of aged wood and faint lavender soap. Quiet wrapped around us, heavy with history. The same walls that had held our whispers years ago. Inside, the living room felt smaller, or maybe we had grown. A worn couch faced the stone fireplace, embers glowing low from an earlier fire. She flicked on a lamp, soft yellow light, pooling over braided rugs and shelves of well-thumbed books. I sank into the cushions, the springs, sighing under me. Lena busied herself at the kitchen counter, pulling mugs from a cabinet, water heating on the stove. Tea? She asked, glancing over. Her braid had loosened, strands framing her face. I watched her move, efficient and sure, the way she always had. But hesitation lingered in her pause before handing me the mug. Steam rose between us, curling like unanswered questions. We settled on the couch, close but not touching. The conversation turned to the past, inevitable as the rivers bend. Family shame, I started, cup warm in my palms. It crushed us. Their looks after that storm, disappointment, thick as mud, and my career, pulling me to the city lights, away from this. She nodded, eyes on the fire. Mine too. Dad's expectations, church talks about right paths. I stayed to keep the ranch, but it chained me. Shame whispered I wasn't enough, not for them or you. Her voice dropped, raw. Obstacles we dodged then, now laid bare. Career pulls had split us, my job offers stacking like barriers, her roots digging deeper into soil that wouldn't yield. We traced them, words weaving through the quiet, acknowledging the weight without blame. Internal conflict peaked inside me, a storm brewing low. Fear clawed up. What if we repeated the silence? Her nearness stirred it all. The comfort of her scent, flannel and earth, clashing with memories of goodbye. My heart thudded, visible under my shirt, pulse racing against the mug's heat. I drove those miles terrified, I admitted. Of this, of opening up just to shut down again. Lena set her cup aside, turning to me full. Me too, that letter? Risk I almost burned, but the quiet one for years. Can't let it now. Her eyes held mine, blue-gray, steady. The fear mirrored between us, peeking sharp, but her hand found my knee, grounding. Vulnerability hung, but so did possibility. She stood then, crossing to an old trunk by the window. Look at this. The lid lifted with a groan, revealing stacks of photos, yellowed edges curling. We knelt together, spreading them on the rug. One caught us, younger, arms slung around each other at the fair, grins wide under strung lights. Laughter bubbled up, unexpected. You had that ridiculous hat, she said, finger tracing my image. I chuckled, the sound easing tension like wind scattering clouds. Another, us, by the river, her pulling me into the water, splashes, frozen midair. You tripped me on purpose, I accused, nudging her shoulder. Her laugh deepened, full and real, shaking her frame. We flipped through more. Road trips, barn dances, shared moments lighting the room warmer than the fire, hope-tinted, tentative, blooming in the spaces between chuckles. The past softened, not erased, but shared like a bridge. The air shifted then, laughter fading to quiet intensity. Our knees touched on the rug, warmth spreading. I looked up, her face close, braid fallen over one eye. The pull ignited, slow burn turning fierce. She leaned in, hesitant at first, lips brushing mine soft. Then deeper, a kiss that felt like silt shifting underfoot. Raw, real. Stirring everything settled. Her hand cupped my neck, calluses rough against skin pulling me nearer. I responded, fingers threading her hair, tasting tea and years lost. Heat built, bodies pressing. The trunk, forgotten. It wasn't rushed, but urgent, like reclaiming ground. Breaths mingled, her flannel bunching under my palms. The kiss broke, foreheads touching, eyes locked. "This," she whispered, "worth fighting for." We pulled back, but commitment settled firm. "Together this time," I said, voice steady. "Face the pressures. Family talks. My job, miles away. No more silence." Lena nodded, hand squeezing mine. "We'll build it slow. Visits. Calls. Whatever bridges the gap. Ranch here's steady, but you... We make space." Empathy wrapped her words. Guarded hearts aligning. External pulls loomed. Shame's echoes. Career's demands. But we'd face them side by side. Hope solidified. Tentative no more. The fire crackled low as night wore on. We talked plans into the dark, voices weaving futures. Sleep came eventual, her bed familiar, yet new. Morning waited, testing this fragile restart. Sunrise over the ranch, decisions fresh in the light. Sunlight slanted through the cabin window, pulling me from sleep. Lena stirred beside me, her arm draped heavy across my waist, breath warm on my neck. The sheets tangled around us, flannel soft against skin. We rose slow, coffee brewing with its bitter steam filling the kitchen. Her eyes met mine over mugs, steady blue-gray. No words needed yet. "Drive you back?" she asked, voice rough from night. I nodded. The city waited, but now she came too. No goodbye this time. We packed light, her duffel tossed in the truck bed, my bag beside it. The engine turned over with a familiar rumble, and we pulled out, ranch fading in the dust. She sat close in the cab, thigh pressing mine over the console. Her hand found mine as we hit the highway, fingers linking firm, calluses rough against my palm. The road unrolled ahead, same cracked asphalt, but different now. No empty grip on the wheel. Her presence filled the space, solid as the dashboard's worn grain. We drove in quiet first, miles slipping by, fields giving way to rises. The air hummed with possibility, her thumb tracing slow circles on my skin. "Feels right," she murmured, squeezing. I glanced over, her profile sharp against the passing pines. Yes, the pull that started this trip anchored us now. Conversation came easy after the first curve. "Those 200 miles," I said, eyes on the road. "We've got to bridge them." She nodded, braid swinging with the truck's sway. "Start small. Weekends. I take the truck east. You come west when work lets." Practical plans emerged, words building like fence posts. My job. Deadlines stacking like hay bales meant city routes. But remote days could stretch. "Video calls every night," she added, voice practical. "See your face before sleep." We mapped it. Her ranch shifts easing for visits. My apartment clearing space for her flannel in the closet. No grand schemes, just steps. Her hand stayed linked, grounding the talk. Empathy laced her tone, understanding the pull of my urban grind against her land-tied days. Reflections surfaced as the sun climbed higher. "We've grown," I said, wind tugging at the cracked window. "Guarded hearts, yeah. Mine walled up after you. City noise drowning the ache." She squeezed my hand, eyes ahead, but soft. "Same here. Ranch work hardened me, but inside? Still waiting for this." Empathy flowed between us, deep and quiet. Her guarded side, jaw set against old hurts, mirrored mine. The fear of silence we'd both carried. But growth showed in the sharing. No blame in our voices. Years had taught resilience. Me navigating concrete isolation. her mending fences, literal and not. "We know better now," she said. "Hearts like ours don't break easy." The words settled warm, affirming the women we'd become, stronger, ready to hold. The road felt less empty, transformed. Wind rushed through open windows, cool and sharp, carrying scents of sage and distant rain. It whipped her hair free from the braid, strands dancing across her face. I laughed soft, reaching to tuck one back. The cab filled with it, our ease, no tension in the air. Tires hummed steady over seams, each one a beat toward something shared. Sun warmed the dash, casting light on her knee pressed to mine. No more solo miles, unraveling regrets. Her presence chased the shadows, the console no barrier now. Just us, hands linked, the horizon pulling forward. Second chances affirmed in every glance. "No more wasted quiet," I said, voice firm. She turned, eyes locking mine. "Promise." The words hung solid. No room for doubt. We'd silenced the silence, voices weaving plans into vows. The miles shrank, not conquered, but shared. Her laugh broke once, low, at a faded billboard we'd mocked years ago. Joy flickered, real and unforced. Empathy deepened it, her guarded heart opening like silt yielding to water, mine following. Growth wrapped us, turning distance to a thread we could mend. Looking ahead sharpened the pull. The shared future tugged, bright as the sky clearing blue. Plans turned to dreams, weekends by the river, her in my city walks, me in her barn lofts. The truck ate road, but excitement built, a quiet fire. "This is us now," she said, hand tightening. Yes. The horizon widened, promising more than miles. The truck's tires hummed over the county line, easing into Willow Creek, the midpoint town. A cluster of low buildings and faded signs under a widening sky. We'd agreed on this stop halfway, a neutral ground to stretch legs and firm up the path ahead. Lena pulled into the diner's lot, gravel popping under the wheels, the neon sign flickering open against the late afternoon light. We stepped out, air crisp with pine from the nearby hills, her hand brushing mine as we walked to the door. Inside, the place smelled of grease and fresh pie, booths worn smooth by years of talks like ours. We slid into one by the window, menus ignored, the vinyl creaking under us. "Visits first," she said, leaning forward, elbows on the table. Her braid had fully unraveled now, hair falling loose around her face. "Every other weekend. I drive east Friday nights. You west when you can." I nodded, tracing the table's edge with my finger, wood grain rough like her palms. Calls daily. No skipping. Plans solidified here, practical as the coffee steaming between us. Her ranch schedule bending for city escapes. My work calendar marked for ranch dawns. We sketched it on a napkin, dates circled, routes mapped with quick lines. Her eyes lit as she talked, blue-gray warm in the booth's glow. No rush, just building, step by steady step. Emotional payoff hit quiet, like silt settling clear. She reached across, hand covering mine, thumb stroking slow. "You get it," she whispered. "The years we lost, but look at us now." Validation washed over me, deep and real. Her seeing my guarded heart, me hers, no judgments left. Tears pricked my eyes, spilling hot down my cheeks. I leaned in, head dropping to her shoulder, flannel soft and absorbing the salt. She wrapped an arm around, pulling close, her scent of earth and soap grounding me. "We've earned this," she murmured, voice thick. Mutual, it flowed, her tears dampening my hair, shared ache turning to strength. The booth held us, world outside, blurring. "We'll dismantle it," I said, lifting my head, wiping my face on my sleeve. The silence, brick by brick, she nodded, fierce. "No more walls. Family talks head on, my roots meeting your city, halfways." Promise sealed in that look, her hand squeezing mine tight. We'd chip at the barriers, shame's remnants, distances pull, one conversation, one drive at a time. Her empathy mirrored mine, guarded edges softening in the diner's hum. The final moment came soft. Coffee forgotten, we leaned foreheads together across the narrow table, breaths mingling warm. Her skin against mine, faint freckles I remembered, now etched with time. Intimacy bloomed there, simple, no rush, just presence. The world narrowed to that touch, her whisper barely audible. Choose us. Empowerment surged, choosing love over fear's old grip. Hearts aligned, we'd forged this, women reclaiming what silence stole. The diner clock ticked, but time felt ours. Outside, waited, hopeful, close pulling us forward. The truck pulled back onto the road, her hand in mine over the console, horizon stretching endless and shared. If this hit close, share your second chance stories in the comments. Subscribe for more authentic Sapphic tales.